Have you ever been watching an episode of the podcast and wondered what's in the mug? Well, we're really proud to be partnering with the amazing folks at Azahar Roast House, located right here in Lowville, New York. Azahar Roast House is a family and community-focused coffee roaster bringing you green coffee exclusively from Colombia. And get this, they always have freshly roasted coffee ready to ship directly to your door. You can order now using the link below and in the description. Be sure to check out their subscription page and have amazing coffee automatically shipped to you every month. Again, that's Azahar Roast House, where coffee meets community and growth, which is what this podcast is all about. To learn more, select the link in the description and order today. All right, here we are. I have a studio full today. For the first time, three guester.
Three guests.
Yep. We have the brothers in the building. Welcome to all of you again.
Thank you. What's up, everyone?
Yeah, so you guys actually have been here before. Tyson twice, and you guys are set up for more interviews on a solo level here, but thought this would be really fun to get in and talk a little bit about mostly family, parenting, fatherhood, and marriage. Kind of those types of things. Cool. Because, you know, those are areas of our lives that we're all in, and so we can speak to those a little bit. We have a lot of experience between the four of us, mostly from Tyson and Tyler. But by no means, and I'm sure you guys would say that you're not experts. So we're kind of all learning and going through things together. So for anybody who hasn't heard your other episodes, Tyson, can you just introduce who you are, what you do, how many kids you have, and how long you've been married?
I am Tyson, the
firstborn, the brotriarch of the family,
the guinea pig of my parents.
Yeah,
I have 6 children from my wife and I, Shay. We've been married 20 years. We hit 20 years this year.
This is a quiz. You guys, were you prepared for this question?
Doing math on my fingers right now. How long I've been married.
Calder's like, good thing the camera cuts off at your waist. I can't see me counting with my fingers and toes.
My kids, our oldest one is 17, and then I have a 15-year-old, 12, 8, 6, and 3.
And what everybody at home is wondering is, what were you thinking?
Yeah, well, I probably wasn't. I really actually never even had like a huge desire when we were married. Like I was not like bent on having kids right away, or we kind of joked around about how many kids we had, but like she
was like 6 and you were like, that's funny.
We actually, one time I don't know if we must not have been married yet. We must have been engaged. And so we each held a number behind our back, you know, of how many kids we thought we wanted or whatever. And we both pulled out 4. And so that obviously was too short from what we wanted, you know, but no, my wife she's a homemaker through and through. That's kind of her desire, was always to just be at home with kids and, you know, be a wife and a mama. And so I've helped her to fulfill that dream. She's getting it, yep.
Yes. So you're a dream maker.
I'm a dream maker. All right. Yeah. So that's,
the reason I say is because like, what's the birth rate right now? Like 1 point something.
Yeah, 1.5.
Not good. Yeah. And so anybody in culture would hear you have 6. They're going, what? Like, their head explodes a little. But like a generation or two ago,
my head explodes a little. No, right. 6 is crazy now for sure. You don't ever get oh yeah, that makes sense. You know, when you tell them you have 6 kids, it's always like, they're always like, wow.
You need to find something else to do.
Or I could never do that, you know, they say. And
right.
you can't do anything until you do it. You know, I mean, I would have never probably said I could have 6 kids either necessarily, but.
Well, like our grandparents' generation.
Oh, yeah.
12.
Right. It was weird to not have 6 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a crazy shift in culture. Tyler, I don't know. There's no word for the second born. You just, I don't know.
That's all right. I figured probably, you know.
You're used to it by now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm married. I have 4 children. I'll be married 14 years on Wednesday. So plugging along there. Yeah, my kids are 13, 12, 10, and 9 right now. So consecutive ages throughout the summer, and then in the winter we get a little break up there, but they're coming along. You know, they're getting into middle school and jumping into modified sports here in the next month or so, which is exciting. I'm excited about that.
You almost have a teenager.
I do have a teenager.
Yeah.
Wait,
Ashton is.
Oh my gosh! Wait, on August, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, 13.
Ooh.
So, yeah, so it's really interesting, like going through the younger kids stage up to our youngest is 9 now. So they're fairly independent. Like, I mean, even on vacation, mom came up to me and Nicole, and we were sitting there on the beach chairs, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, like you guys made it."
Yeah.
You know, because everybody else has little kids
chasing
still,
the kids
and they're
around.
chasing around. Yeah, just independent. And
Yeah.
so it's definitely a different feel and a different season of life that we're kind of getting into now, and it's great. I absolutely love it so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long did you say you've been married?
14 years on Wednesday.
Okay. Wow. Crazy.
So coming up. Yep.
I always wondered if like the different stages of life, and anybody can jump in at any time too. Like if you have a question or follow up, want to, respond to somebody else, just do that. But I'm not I'm so far from that stage. Like that seems light years ahead of me to be able to be like, oh, just independent, go play. But we're going to get there.
It won't be long.
Yeah. Goes by fast, right?
Yeah. Took about a week for us.
Yeah.
Seems like.
Is that what it feels like?
Yeah. Which everybody says, which I guess is probably true because,
Right.
Yeah.
we're going through it. It was not always fun, not always easy, but like the amount of enjoyment that I get out of hanging out with my kids at this point in their lives and this stage in their life, is priceless. It's unbelievable.
Cool.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things is one-on-one time with my kids. Like it's a different dynamic. Obviously, when you have 6 kids, it's a totally different dynamic. But even taking 2 kids somewhere with you, that is different than just hanging out with one kid. It's so and it can be the littlest one too. It doesn't matter, but yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
Calder.
Yeah, my name is Calder. I'm the youngest of the brothers. We have a younger sister, so I'm not the youngest child, but I've been married for 5 years. Will be 6 years, December 21st, and we have one 5-year-old daughter. She just turned 5. Yeah, so I'm a little bit different in that aspect. Even our younger sister has multiple children, so a little bit different perspective from me with only having one child, which I get only one-on-one time with my child.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yep.
yeah, and I can probably speak to the aspect of feeling like you're spending all your time with that child, and then that's where I'm at right now. I'm really feeling torn between my hobbies and spending time by myself and spending time with my daughter who wants to do everything with me. It doesn't matter if I'm coming here tonight. She was heartbroken that she couldn't come here tonight to the podcast. And so she just wants to be with me all the time. And so it's difficult to look at her and see how much she wants to be with me and doing everything. And sometimes even still have to tell her no. She wants to go to work with me every day in the morning, but I can't take her to work with me just because I install flooring and it's a dangerous occupation. It's hazardous. It's not dangerous, but you can't have little kids in that environment. I'm not going strawberry picking for the day. So yeah, I have one child, been married for 5 years, working on marriage every day, learning a lot about myself, trying not to be so quick to anger. Yeah. And just be a godly example to my daughter and my wife best I can.
Yeah. We talk a lot about the, Nick has brought up when Nick was helping when he was hosting the podcast too. And he was like, it's hard to want to do your own chores or your things around the house or your hobbies. And then.
Wait, what's that? What did you say?
Hobbies. It's a
Yeah,
thing.
I'll pull it up.
Parenting is your hobby, Tyson. Did you not realize this? But like how it does take away, or if you have a chore that takes an hour, but like you have kids draped all over you, that becomes a 2-hour, 3-hour project. So
yeah.
But I think from where you're coming from, you're saying more like it hurts you to not be with her or have the experience with her.
Yeah, it hurts me some. I'm also somebody that's very solo, I guess. I like to be alone. I like to spend time by myself, Introverted, yeah.
Yep.
And it's even hard for me. We've gone through different stages at the flooring business, my dad's business, where we've had employees come and go. And then recently my dad's business partner retired. So I kind of have been in the installation spot, but we haven't hired anybody on yet. We've had some people come and help temporarily who are maybe laid off and stuff, but I have a hard time delegating and letting people run with it, saying, okay, I think you've got this, go ahead. I want to make sure that they're doing it properly, and I'm kind of maybe over their shoulder a little bit too much. So yeah, and I've struggled with wanting to take that time for myself in my hobbies and not be selfish and give my time to my daughter also, because as much as I want to go out and hunt and sit in the woods for a day, I have meat in my freezer. It's not a necessity for our well-being or our lifestyle. And so it's hard for me that's where I'm at right now, is a back and forth between, do I go do what I enjoy, or do I just spend time with my daughter, which she has a little bow and some arrows, and she's getting into, fishing and some of my hobbies that I enjoy, which is what I'm really looking forward to, is introducing her to the things that I love to do.
Yeah, it can be a hard thing to learn how to love what your kids like to do, especially if it's not easy to connect with them, like one-on-one. So I have 2 boys. They're 11 and a half months apart, the 2 oldest boys. And the oldest boy is like super easy. He loves all the same things I love. He loves sports. He loves, like he would just sit and just watch sports all day, every day, knows all the stats, very much like I was when I was young, like when I was in my 12, 13-year-old.
And he's 13 now. And just kicked my butt in
and just
fantasy baseball
kicked your butt in
championship.
fantasy. Yep,
Needs
he
to be
did.
said.
He did.
Congratulations, Ashton.
And he does it all on his own. It's so funny because every day he's like, "Mom, can I check my team?" Because
he doesn't have a phone.
He doesn't have a phone, and his team is on her phone. So it's kind of like, it's a good and bad. We can kind of manipulate the situation a little bit now and then.
Yeah.
But like he just
has all the same kind of I guess interests that you have.
He does, yeah. And but he's also very much the same personality as me, so we can kind of.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's great. We can kind of rib each other back and forth. We're not real sensitive. He's not real sensitive. We kind of,
It's not like
can
one's
have
an
some-
Eagles fan and one's a Giants fan, so that's fine.
Well, I'm only a Giants fan when they're good, so which is at least they won Sunday.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was a huge difference when my second boy kind of came along, and like his attitude was kind of like, well, I don't want to watch sports. I like playing sports, but what's the point of watching them if you're not playing them?
Yeah.
And he was really intelligent in different ways, and it was really hard for me. And I actually had to step back from what I love to do and try to take some interest in what he likes to do. And that's stinking hard. Like coming from a place where you're just having kids, he's maybe 2 or 3 years old. you've never really had to make yourself like what somebody else likes, or even just put the effort in. But once I started doing that, it was unbelievable, the connection that I got with him. And now he is like attached at my hip no matter what. He's my dude. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
The oldest boy, he'll always be there. It's always kind of an easy relationship. But it was definitely a conscious effort on my part to make sure I was equally as involved in his life.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't as simple or as easygoing or flowed as easy. So
Yeah.
I totally get that. Like, as far as her starting to like some of your hobbies, and it's probably harder too with a girl.
Maybe, but you have a girl also, and I mean, she's into insects and all sorts of doctors, scientist stuff. So we're doing science experiments, and we're outside catching bugs, and we're watching movies or playing house, and I'm the baby and she's the mama, and
of course,
or she's got to fix me up or whatever. So it is a learning process to take a step back, and that's what you have to do to understand that this is not what I want to be doing, but this is what she wants to be doing, and I need to invest myself.
Yeah, it's like a sacrifice to cultivate that relationship, to try to get into the inner workings of what their desires are, or what their passions are.
It reminds me of the love languages, like with marriage, each of us has our own love language and our spouse has their own love language. And if you love your spouse in your own love language, they're not going to receive it as well. You need to learn how they...
0 points.
Yeah. You need to learn how they receive love and learn how to love them in the way that they receive it.
I think that that's applicable to marriage the same way. Like when your spouse has interests that you don't have an interest in, you kind of have to learn to sacrifice that part of your desire to learn what they like to do, and then see how that reciprocates. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. We'll get a little bit into kind of work-life balance, and it sounds like even kind of life-hobby balance, which is also important. It's very important to be able to have like avenues for escape from your daily life, and it's good for your mental health and things like that.
And one thing too that so my wife and I have one child, and we both knew that we wanted a smaller family to start with, and we've kicked around the idea of having another child, but that's one thing that crosses my mind is quote unquote splitting time up equally with your children. I already have a hard time with just one child in my hobbies, and I've talked with a lot of older gentlemen who have given me a lot of good wisdom and said, kind of at this point in your life, you're starting to lose your hobbies, and you have to be more invested in your children's and what they want to do. And she started Lysa soccer this year, so that was great. And so that was something that took away a little bit of time from my hobbies, and I had to invest in hers, which was great. I was able to coach and be involved, and I loved it.
Yep. Tyson, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, my thought kind of is that, like, how many relationships do we engage in where it's not a selfish, quote unquote, selfish motive? So we didn't get married like because we were looking to serve somebody. Like, oh, I'd just like to lay my life down for this person and make sure all their hopes and dreams come true. Like, that is not why we get married. That's not why women or men get married, I don't think, And even with our kids, like, why did we have kids? Because we wanted kids. It wasn't because we were like, we should raise some humans so that, the world can be a better place and we can, help them become everything they want to be. Like, it turns into that. But initially it's, no, I want kids. I'm fulfilling a desire that I have and a need that I have or whatever. And so it does take effort, and it depends on the kids you connect with too. I have kids that like Tyler said, kind of we have the same personality and it clicks and whatever. And then I have other kids who we don't necessarily click on the same types of things. Not that we don't still click on some things, but you have to work harder at it. And for me, like one of my daughters is a little more introverted, and we don't easily connect. Like she's more into, say, making things or crafts, and she's very engineering mind kind of, and just thinks differently than I do. And so it takes more effort, and you have to be careful not to leave that, and just because it's not popping out at you, you have to pay attention to that too, because she is the one who's introverted too more. So she's happy to be in her room hanging out, or doing her own thing or whatever. But yeah, you can wake up 10, 12 years later and be like, oh, geez, we have no relationship. Not that we don't have any relationship, but like, here's what I could have had in relationship if I had laid my own desires down. And I heard somebody say once, try to find a better feeling than when you go out and you do something for somebody else. So you go out and you do a work project for somebody, or you help somebody fix a tire on the side of the road, or you pay for a meal, or you carry somebody's groceries, or whatever, like that feeling. If you can get there, laying your own desires down will give you a better feeling of yourself long term. In the short term, it's not as fun. Obviously, you have to give up what you're doing, and so I was much slower to the table than my wife was with that stuff, for sure. But it is rewarding too. Like Tyler said, they start getting a little older, and you can see some of the fruit, because man, for the first 8 to 10 years, you don't see that at all. It's just work. It is just hard work. Probably doing a lot of stuff wrong raising my kids, where I'm making it a lot harder than it should be, but you probably don't figure that out until you're a grandparent anyway. So I don't know, it is what it is, but
yeah. Well, that transition is nice. I have some questions here, kind of personal experience as a father, and it segues into parenting in a few different ways. So I think I'll stay right with Tyson and we'll go right around here. What has surprised you the most about becoming a father? And it can be in a good way or a difficult way.
I remember the shock of like when we were leaving the hospital, and I had kids, or we had siblings. So I was always around kids. Our sisters are, I don't know how old Brielle is now, I won't even try to guess, but 10, 15 years younger than me range. So I remember having little kids in the house and stuff, and doing that whole thing. And I remember being at the hospital, and we did the deal, and we, put our oldest daughter in the car seat, and they, the nurse walks you out and they make sure the car seat's strapped in and whatever. And
unless they don't.
Yeah. Unless they don't. Yeah. And then they were like, okay, we'll see you later.
You're like, wait, what?
And we're like, wait, like, shouldn't somebody be coming home with us probably? Yeah. Like, I just remember that feeling still of like, oh my goodness, this is serious.
Yeah.
And so just the responsibility, I was not mentally prepared for that. I don't know that you ever are necessarily. But that was one thing that I had to kind of come to grips with. It was like, okay. And it took me a long time. For me, the way it worked out where we had kids, my wife and I both like to play sports, volleyball, basketball. She was athletic. So that was kind of something we got to do that was fun for the 2-3 years before we had kids. So we connected with that. We still tried to do a lot of that stuff. And even after kids kept coming along, we really tried. She cut back a lot earlier than I did. And I still tried to do some of that stuff. And it was not ideal. If I could go back and change something about our marriage or our family, I would have toned that down quite a bit because it put a lot of stress on her. And a lot of it too was just we didn't communicate well. Like for probably 10 years, I played softball, and she didn't realize like that she didn't have to come to the games with all of our kids and let them play in the sand and then go home at 11 o'clock at night and give them all baths. And so just like a gross misunderstanding, because she would have 10 times like rather, the first time we probably realized it was when I got done playing and we took all the kids to watch a game. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is like not fun at all. What are we doing here? Like, and then we had to go home and we had to put all the kids to bed. And she looked at me and she was, if she could have punched me in the face with her looks, she probably would have, and completely legitimate. Like so probably just laying my own agenda down, being able to lay it down a little bit early, give up some of those hobbies. Mm-hmm. That would have made things, a lot easier. But I mean, 1,000%. Like I wouldn't change anything that I have with my kids for anything,
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is shocking. Like when they get the car seat and they're like, "All right, see you later." You're like,
yeah.
For the like,
Is that it?
You got a handbook? Anything, please?
Yeah,
pretty please. All right, Tyler, how about you? Something that surprised you the most about becoming a father?
Boy, that's a good question, I guess. I don't know if I was super surprised. I mean, I was a little bit later in life, to be honest, when we started having kids. I was 27, I believe, when Ashton was born, so he's my oldest. So it wasn't like I was in my early 20s even, like, I don't know. I'd gone and done a lot of things, seen a lot of places, and was kind of just ready for that stage of life. And, when we got married, we both kind of wanted a family as soon as possible. So we did that. And I wouldn't say so much shocking or surprising, but just the sense of responsibility, probably the sense of like, oh, I should probably like start growing up a little bit more now. Man, the sense of wanting to do the best I can and not being 100% sure if I'm doing that. If that makes sense. Like not wanting to screw something up so bad that I don't have any relationship with these little humans down the road. You know what I mean? That's like my number one thing is that when I'm in my 50s and 60s and 70s is that I still have relationship with these kids. So even now it's like, are the little disagreements and arguments worth killing a part of that relationship? Or are they just not? So
That's well said.
Yeah. Probably that's my biggest thing right now is even in my failure, even in their failure, trying to figure out how we can still be on the same team. It's kind of the analogy I use with my kids. So yeah.
It's good. The biggest thing that surprised me becoming a dad probably was just the whole process of a child being born and then coming into this world. And like Tyson said, it's your responsibility. If you're married, it's you and your wife. They say it takes a community to raise children. Luckily, we have amazing aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters and parents and grandparents and, places we can draw wisdom from. I think the most surprising thing for me as becoming a parent is just the miracle of life and the fact that when you make a decision to bring life into this world, it's a serious deal. It's your responsibility. That child's welfare is completely, they're helpless. They need nurturing and caring and loving parents all the time. So a struggle for me is I'm a pretty fiery guy, and raising my voice lately has been an issue, and something that, like Tyler said, I'm starting to wonder, when I'm 60 or 70, is that going to be something that my daughter looks back on and is hurt by? So yeah, we have, things that we need to work through all the time. And just last night there was an incident where my wife accidentally got elbowed in the face.
What?
Yeah, it's kind of an accident, but it was pre-bedtime. Rowdy.
By you or by the daughter?
By my daughter.
Very important clarification.
So it was pre-bedtime.
About to have an edit there.
Yeah. And cut. All right, guys.
Pre-bedtime shenanigans, and me and Naomi are roughhousing a little bit, and she gets a little carried away and jumps on her mother and gives her an elbow in the face. And I kind of snapped. I lost it for a second because, and that's another thing that I've been struggling with too, is making sure that my daughter knows that mommy is first, and that daddy loves, like Wilbur said, daddy loves mommy more, even though he loves you so much. And so when she does something to hurt or disrespect my wife, I need to make it clear to her that that's not acceptable behavior, but I need to do it in a manner that's not making her cry or scaring her or So
really fortifying your marriage in her eyes. And letting her know, like, I have her back too, like you have to be respectful. The biggest thing, I think, and I don't know, I want to hear if you guys relate to this at all. The biggest surprise for me was how much I felt like, I don't even know a good way to put this. Like how much I would just lay my life down for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird feeling. Like
that's
for
what
your
I was
kids,
kind of.
It's probably because they're helpless, right? It's
Well, I
probably
was going to say that. I didn't know. One of my things, I didn't know that I could care about a human that much. You know?
Right.
And I've seen even some videos of people, saying, oh, would you lay your life down for your kid? And they're like, oh, like, what's the circumstances, or what did they do? Or, or maybe, I maybe wouldn't lay my, but it's like, for me and probably all of you, I would hope, it's such a clear.
Yeah. What do you need? My heart?
Dry.
Like, you want me to, I'll just take it out right now.
Yeah.
What do you, if
Give me a knife.
one of my kids need, what do you say?
Give me the knife.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, really.
Myself.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so the next one is what part of parenting do you feel most confident in, and what part do you feel lost in? We'll go right back around. Start, Tyson.
Thanks. I'm just going to skip right to the lost
You're
part.
you're the one with the most experience here.
Yep.
Just had a knockdown drag out with one of my children and my wife the other day. So I'm feeling like the more that I learn, the less I know. And just questioning everything that I've learned, and that not questioning it in a major way, but like, man, what did we really miss? Must be something. And, I think the Lord's just bringing a couple things to light that we just really missed. What was the question again? What are we most confident in about parenting, and what are we least feel, or what do we feel lost in? What do I feel confident in? Man, I am not a confident person, so that's a good question.
We can come back too. You guys want a second to think about that? Calder, you laid that out pretty well.
Yeah,
some of the stuff that you feel like you're not so confident in, but that you're working on.
Yeah. I don't.
Is there anything that you feel confident in?
I think maybe one thing that I feel confident in is the example that I'm giving her to be a hard worker. And maybe that's, I don't know, if it's something that maybe she will hopefully see in her husband someday, and a quality that she will want to find in a husband, but also to instill into her, whether it's cleaning up her room, and she hates to clean up her room, and she wants somebody to do it with her, And so I'll go in with her and help her along, and I'll pick up a few toys and coach her along the way, and just try to graciously instill into her that you have to work for what you want. And if there is a mess or you cause a mess, it's not going to get cleaned up by itself. You have to follow through and complete the process of getting the toys out, playing with them, and then putting them back away. You can't just leave everything a mess. So, and, just waking up and going to work every day, she sees that, and it's hard for me to leave her, and she wants me to stay home and play for sure. But, you just kind of explain to her, this is Daddy's responsibility, and he has to go to work so that we can do fun things. And yeah, I don't think there's anything that I'm super confident in. Even in that, I'm like, I get up and go to work, like she sees that hopefully. But yeah, the things that I'm not confident in, the list is endless, Not confident in, I can honestly say this 100% that I sometimes I'm not confident in the way that she sees me treat my wife. And there are many times where I raise my voice at her, or we're having an argument, but not in private, where Naomi is exposed to it. And so, I'm not confident that I'm showing her how to expect to be treated by her husband. So that's something. We grew up, we had kind of a different church situation growing up. We're all born-again Christians, but we left the building of church a number of years ago, and I was maybe 12 or 13 years old. I'm not sure exactly when, but I was okay with what happened and that we left the church, and I understood why and all that stuff. And I still have a relationship with God and with Jesus, and we go to church when we can, and I read my Bible, but I still question myself, and I don't know if she sees the love that I have for God, so it's all, and she's only 5, so I don't, know how much, but when we go to church and she's raising her hands and singing and swaying, and it gives me a little bit of that confidence. Yep.
Tyler, are you confident about anything?
No. Nope, not a single thing. Nope, I'm not.
It's a lot of humility.
Yeah, I always tell everybody, I feel like I must be missing something, because I feel like everybody is so confident in how they approach life or approach parenting or whatever. And I'm just like, I just hope my kids know I love them. That's pretty much the one thing I'm confident in, is I think my kids know that no matter what, I love them. I always will come back to them if we've had a falling out or if we've had an issue, and just really drive home the point that, listen, I love you no matter what. I don't love you more or less.
Yeah. Because
of how you acted, the things you said, this is not a performance-based relationship. So I love you whether you are doing great. I love you whether you're doing terrible. So I think my kids would know that for sure.
I
think that's all.
Behavioral child psychology would say that probably covers a multitude of.
I hope so.
Well, it's super easy for us to take that for granted as yeah, I do that, but here's all the other things that I don't do well. But I think if you look outside of our circle, and we kind of, we have some of the same circles and we have some different circles. But for the most part, when you start looking outside of your circle, it's a big deal for your kids to know, how many issues right now are unresolved between you and your kids. I would say probably none, or even you and your wife. Now, I'm not saying there's not disagreements that you still have to go through, but, we just went on vacation, all of us together, with extended family, and like
For a week.
Yeah, for a week in the same hotel and whatever. So like it's
rare.
That's a big deal, and I'm not saying it has to be that way or anything like that if that's not your situation, but it does speak to that, I think, like you're saying.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's just, I just feel like a lot of times we have the 90% kind of figured out. But it's that last 10% that like everybody has a different opinion on.
Yeah.
And focuses on.
Yeah, and then to me it's like, okay, like I just either I'm missing it or the choices that I make are wrong, or it's going to be okay, or that kind of makes sense, but like really the vast majority of it, I think for the most part in our circles we kind of get like I don't know anybody that would, I shouldn't say anybody, like in our immediate family for sure, and in probably my friend group, I don't know anybody that would prioritize their hobby over their kids ever. Like I don't know anybody that would say, yeah, I know my kid really wants to see me and hang out with me, but it's whatever.
I want to do my own thing.
I'm going to do my own thing. I do know people like that.
Yeah.
I worked on the road for a lot of years, and I saw dads on the road, calling their kids after their games at night. Like, it like broke my heart then. And I didn't have kids. I wasn't married back then. Like, that's one of the things. Like when I got married and we started having kids, I was going to be home for my kids.
And you did a good job with that. You left a lot for that.
Yeah. And that was just, a decision that I had made. Like, there's no way. And again, that's probably a selfish thing. Like, I didn't want to be gone from them. I love hanging out with them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So was it for their benefit? Probably not really. It was probably more like, I don't want to miss them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think, I think the vast majority of it. And like I always say, listen, when my kids are 50, ask me how I did parenting. Like, for sure. Honestly, I'm going to love them. We're going to do the best that
60 for me.
Yeah, 10 years on you there. But you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I guess I feel like kind of the vast majority of all of the things about parenting we probably pretty much agree on.
There's a verse in the New Testament that says that the entire law is summed up. I'm going to paraphrase, but essentially the entire law can be summed up with love. Like if you love somebody, you don't need the law to tell you what's right and what's wrong. And I feel like if you love your kids, if you truly love them in a manner that you will lay down your life for them, you would take a bullet for them, but you know what? You would also get up off the couch to go out and play catch with them, which might be harder than taking a bullet. I mean, right. Getting up and serving your kids or whatever, but I think that's the 90% you're talking about, kind of. Mm-hmm. Like if you've got that, you've got 90% of it, and there's grace for the rest. That 10%, which is what we all struggle with so much, is the formula. Do I do it this way? Do I do it that way? How do I address this? What is, I feel like it's so cliche, but like going through every stage now, like hitting the teenage years, and that transition of like, you go from like the kid needs you to do everything, and then it's not a okay, flip the switch and you're done and whatever. It's like a slow transition to, I've talked about it before, like you want them to be good decision makers. Well, it's not always just cut and dried. Like, okay, now you get to make this decision. And man, just going through all the different stages with that is
right.
So stinking different all the time too. I've got one kid that's a mile deep, and then I've got another kid that's an inch deep and a mile wide, and I'm like trying to figure out, how do I get this kid to get some more depth. You know, and it's like, I don't want him to just answer the answers that he knows I want to hear. How can I get them to think about what is happening in this situation? When I say an inch deep and a mile wide, I mean it.
Takes a lot of patience for
and
that.
it's just, and yeah, but then the next kid will be like, oh yeah, I can totally see how that would make somebody feel bad, and I feel really bad about it now, and I'm really sorry, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Personality.
Whereas the other one's
differences.
like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. You know, and you can
Yeah.
just tell there's no depth there. So how do you draw out that depth in somebody? That's my biggest challenge right now.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, I think most of it's like you guys are talking about the 90%, like it's like an iceberg problem, right? Like everybody's trying to figure out what's going on at the tip of the iceberg, not understanding that all of the things you guys just mentioned are what's holding the iceberg together, which is the biggest, most important pieces of it all. You know, the love, the intentionality, service, and all of these different things that you would think the prescription at the top is like, oh, how do we sleep train? How do we do this? How do we do that? That's what everybody focuses on, but the bigger stuff is so much more valuable to focus on. And just like you said, Tyson, like as soon as you start to look out, we take it for granted. Like most people don't see any of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's amazing how fast like a little 20 or 30 pound human can just bring all different kinds of emotions out of you, you know, anger or sadness or, you know, whatever. And so most of our parenting, I'm speaking for myself, I think I knew that it was supposed to be like for the child's benefit that you're training and raising and discipling and disciplining or whatever. But like still a lot of it is like out of my convenience. Like, okay, you're yelling and, you know, running through the house creating a ruckus. You know, my concern is in the immediacy is not for is not for like the child, is for like, no, you're annoying me, knock it off. Right. You know, and it's just such a selfish reason, you know, but yeah.
Like if in our circle too, if specifically in our circle, which is a very rare thing and probably not a lot of people would understand it. You know, there's not a lot of, I guess, brokenness by the world standard that separates the relationship between parents and children, mostly just in our family. But other people can't relate to that whatsoever. You know, you'll hear stories all the time. I haven't talked to my dad in 30 years, or you know, we had a falling out between me and my mom, and we don't talk. And the root causes of all of those things are vast and wide, and you can't really get one prescription that fits all of that. And so, yeah, I think for me, I'm not confident in anything. And so it's a challenge that makes it very challenging to figure out what I can do. I same thing. Like the stuff I'm dealing with is like, how am I slower to anger? How am I slower to frustration? How can I be more patient? Those are the things that I'm always struggling with. And it feels like a grind to me. It feels like one step forward, two steps back, maybe two steps forward, and then one step. It's not like smooth. It doesn't, even when I'm focusing on these things in front of my kids or with my wife or in my parenting, it just feels like I'm always missing the mark. And that doesn't mean that there's not progress there. There may be, but it's almost in the moment I can feel being like, did it again. Did it again.
Yeah, it's a battle every area of your life, though. Like every aspect is the spirit versus the flesh, and who's going to win each little individual battle.
Right.
And if you feed your flesh over your spirit, you know, but it takes a while because our flesh is so strong. You know, it has complete control over us. It's an innate part of us, obviously.
Yeah.
So you're trying to literally change your human nature, which is kind of by default selfish to survive. I mean, we're kind of, it's kind of how you're built, right? And so the thought of laying your life down is completely unnatural. But it's what makes you, I mean, I feel like, yes, parenting is for the kids, but it's also to make the world a better place, because it makes you less selfish as a parent, and it helps you to see something beyond yourself, which I think it would be scary, if we had another way of of procreating that didn't involve parenting. I think it would be scary, because I don't think you would. I think the world would be a disaster, because you would live in a place where people are just have to feed, can just feed their selfishness, more and more. It really causes you to have to stop. Like, you have to lose sleep, like, for the first 2 years of a kid's life, or year, whatever. Like, that's like one of the hardest things to do, is to get out of bed when you shouldn't have to get out of bed, and so it does. If you let it change you, it makes you a better human being, for sure.
Rounds out a lot of sharp edges.
I think so. I would say maybe the only thing that I'm confident in, because I'm not confident in a lot of the formula stuff, with good reason. There's 75,000 different, ideas of what the right way, to raise a child is. But the one thing I'd say, I'm confident that I have my children's hearts. And when push comes to shove, I guess that probably trumps quite a bit. You can screw a lot of stuff up, but I really do feel confident that there's some kids that are harder for me and some that are easier, for sure. I'm not a baby person, I'm 4 or 5 years old. I'm good with that, so it's harder for me to connect early on. And then obviously different personalities. It's not easy to connect with sometimes. But I'm confident that I have or will have my kids' hearts at the end of this, when we're done. So if they're screwed up and they're they're in jail, they'll at least know they can call me. I may not have done it right, with the formula stuff, and they wound up. No, I don't. That's not a fear I have, but that idea. So
yeah. The manual that they gave you when you left the hospital didn't have all this stuff in it.
Nope.
Like parents would, get your sleep now. Like you hear stuff like that before you have a baby, and then you're like, oh,
yep.
Now I get to tell it.
And even if I figured it out, I wouldn't write a book, because everybody else has to go through that crap too. I ain't gonna tell them.
That's right. It's,
you're on your own. Punks
their problems for them.
You have to, in order to earn your parenting badge.
Yep.
Okay, so Calder, a question. We'll start with you on this one, and because you have a daughter only. What do you think girls need most from their fathers, especially in today's world? And then we'll go around, because everybody here has daughters.
I think the thing they need most is an example of how to be treated. And they would see that obviously through how I treat my wife, or, how a husband treats their wife. I think one thing that maybe people wouldn't think about, or it might not come to the front of their mind, that I will say is a big part of my daughter and mine and my relationship, is physical play. Rough and tumble, tossing her up in the air, playing tag, running around, throwing her over my shoulders. Yeah, that really seems to build. It seems like it builds an emotional bond through physicality in a way that you can't do otherwise. Thinking and relating it with my spouse, with our wives, obviously there is emotional connection through physicality. And daughters, I feel like, need that too. They need to be held tightly in their father's arms and know that their daddy can protect them, or that they can run to their daddy if something's wrong. But they also need to know that, you know, they can run and jump on dad and, you know, mess around and play rough and tumble a little bit. And because it's not like that with mothers. You know, our wives are more delicate and more sensitive, and, you know, they just can't connect in the same way through that physical rough and tumble play. I feel like that is very emotionally bonding for a daughter to their dad.
Yeah. I have something pulled up for that. So roughhousing play is associated with cognitive and brain development, especially in children, improved self-control, enhanced brain function, problem-solving skills, emotional intelligence, social skills, building bonds, confidence, physical activity, which releases a feel-good chemical in their brain, which helps them to become more self-aware. Teaching consent, recognizing limits, age appropriate, all these kinds of things.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too, is when we are doing that, you know, and then when she says, okay, enough, or I'm done, or no more, no thank you, then you have to respect that boundary. And that will instill in her and teach in her for her future that if she says no to somebody, or that's enough or something, and they don't respect that boundary that she has set up, then it's then her responsibility to recognize that that person doesn't respect her boundary, and she needs to create she needs to pull back some in that relationship, or talk to that person about what they did to make them, or to make her feel like they're not respecting her boundaries or something. So yeah, when we're rough and tumbling and she's had a little too much, you know, she says enough, or she runs to mom during tag and she says, I'm safe. You know, I gotta back off.
Yep.
Great.
Tyler, you've got a daughter?
Yes, one. Thankfully. She is almost 11. She's 10 and a half, 10 and 3/4. And just a spitfire. She's hilarious.
Yeah. So you're the one saying, enough.
Oh, my goodness. She
Does she
came
respect
out.
your boundaries?
Oh, yeah. She is 0 to 100 in the blink of an eye. She's like feisty. She's got red hair. She is true redhead. She's hilarious. She is the best crafter I know. Well, her and Hannah would probably do some crafts.
They love it. Yep.
But she's very independent, which is very interesting. Maybe she has a couple older brothers, you know. Very independent. She does not want to hold my hand. She does not. Dad, I just don't like holding hands. I'm like, well, you probably should learn how to at least, you know, like, I just don't like to hold hands, you know. Okay, Dad, I've snuggled with you for, you know, 12 seconds. Now I'm going to go, you know. She just isn't that way, which is hilarious. I don't know.
Yep.
You would think like, oh, you're daddy's little girl, but she's not that way at all.
Especially being the youngest, or she's not the youngest.
Not the youngest,
she's second
but
to the youngest.
but she's also like super endearing, but her and her mother are like inseparable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, she you know, she'll always say like, oh, like, I love you guys the same. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like,
She loves you the same.
She says the right things.
She doesn't like you the same.
So
She loves you the same.
I know for me,
Right.
my relationship with her is very playful. It is very jokey. It is very kind of like me always trying to get her attention.
Mm-hmm.
And her kind of just like realizing what I'm doing and giving me a smirk or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that I do with her as much as humanly possible is tell her how beautiful she is and how well she does things and how, you know, praise her effort in the things that she does. In this culture, I don't know if it's possible to raise a daughter that isn't somehow beholden to a standard that she can't ever achieve. Because it seems to me like that's just kind of the standard for girls in this climate. And I want her to always know that I am always on her team. I always think that she is, very, not worthy, but like that she's doing a good job. Like, I don't want her to fall into that whole thing of performance and, self-doubt and all that stuff. She's so confident.
Yeah. But there's even a layer deeper than the confidence. It's just to understand her self-worth. And if the more you can pour into that, especially for females, especially for your daughters, is huge.
Yeah, because I don't know, I guess I feel like I see it all the time where it's just this culture is just killing the woman and killing a confident woman just to perform and to be the same as everyone else and to, to be even on the same playing field, so to speak, as like her brothers, which she doesn't need to be that. Like, she's different, So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Like, I definitely am much, much different with her than I am with the boys, for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've helped a little bit coach her little softball team, and it is like a blast, which Tyson could probably attest to. Me coaching the boys is not so much of a blast. Like, I'm really thankful, actually, that my boys are kind of getting past the point where I'm coaching them.
Yeah.
Because I love coaching other people's kids. But, like, man, for me, I'm terrible at coaching my own kids.
Yeah.
But, like, when it comes to her little stinking softball team,
yeah,
it's the best. I could do that all day, every day. They're terrible. They've been terrible. They have, like, a couple of great athletes, and then it's just a bunch of girls, like, that are just their friends. And it's, like...
Yeah.
Hilarious.
That's going to lead into another question that I have, the kind of differences in how you parent them. But yeah, a father's love significantly shapes a woman's sense of self-worth, how she values herself and her future relationships with men. That is, like, so valuable. Yeah. Tyson?
So I've got 3 daughters, 17, 15, and 6. And my youngest is a redhead. So we got that going for us.
Stereotype still good.
Yeah, we got that going for us.
Yeah.
But I feel like my one goal with my daughters was to help them be confident in themselves. And I pretty much, I think, screwed that up by putting by encouraging or complimenting their outward abilities or beauty or looks or whatever. And again, time will tell a little bit. And I don't even know, like Tyler said, it's maybe an impossible task to some degree, just because there's so much that goes into it, with social pressures and stuff. But I would always tell them how beautiful they were and how amazing they were and how much I loved them and all that. And I feel like, I may be learning a little bit. Not that I shouldn't have told them that, but really I think the message should have been, your looks do not determine your worth. Your behavior doesn't determine your worth. You're worth what you are just because you're my kid. Because what happens if you have an ugly kid? Then what happens, and I'm joking a little bit because, that's not what you want to tell your kids. But what happens then when they find out, like, there is a beauty standard, and if you're below that or you're above it or whatever, if you're below it, they're going to feel that. And then you're left with, well, Dad must have just been lying to me. Again, not that you can't tell them they're beautiful or I think you're beautiful or whatever, but their worth needs to come from, you're worth what you are just because you're mine. And that puts you at the top of the pile. You know, similar to, I think, what God has done with us. We've kind of removed ourselves. We've put ourselves, you know, on a treadmill of performance, whether subconscious or not. And we're worth to God what we are, not because we ask for forgiveness, not because we do the right thing, because we're his kids. Like, that automatically puts you on the top of the pile in that regard, you know? And so I'm starting to use different language with the kids, you know, sort of kind of what Tyler said, like, it doesn't matter what you do. I still love you just as much. I might be sad if you make a bad decision for your sake, but it doesn't change the fact that I would lay my life down for you or that I would get up and serve you, you know? And, you know, you have to realize, like, you have to get to the place where that's how you feel, you know, obviously. But just conveying that to my kids, you know, giving them a hug and just saying, I love you just because you're mine, you know. So that's a big thing. And then I would say quantity time, you know, for girls. It's easy to spend quantity time with my boys. I'm a boy. It's easy. But really, you know, I don't feel like quality time really cuts it. I feel like quantity is much better if you can, you know, if you can pull it off. Obviously, that becomes a challenge with multiple kids, but you know, they see the effort in that and stuff too. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay, let's just quick go to Calder and I don't have boys yet. How do you parent, specifically to Tyler and Tyson, how do you parent your boys differently? Yeah, differently. Different tourist.
Compared to girls. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. You go.
Just kind of send them off into the woods. Tell them
I'll
to
just
figure it
start
out.
this off by saying I have said before, and I still feel this way, that I do not know if I want a boy. I love my girl. I love my daughter, and I would take
Especially
10
if you see
more.
home videos of you when you were.
Oh, yeah. I've heard stories of what I'm like, and then I think my daughter is a close enough.
Well, I've never seen anybody run at a wall full tilt, jump, and do a backflip off that same wall for no reason. And that was only like, I don't know, 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, but
That served you well. That,
you guys
that energy has
want
served
boys?
You well.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys always want boys, though?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. If I'd had Isaac first, I don't know if I'd have wanted more. No, I'm just kidding, Isaac. He's my 3-year-old. He's a Calder. He's a crazy man. I should have had him when I was younger, though. That would have made more sense. When I had a little more energy, you know, a little more.
We had the hard ones the first 3.
Yeah. See, you did it the right way.
Other way. I don't know about that.
Maybe it wasn't any better then, huh? A lot of it is personality. So, like, you know, depending on the personality that you end up with, my oldest son, Carson, he's kind of my mini-me personality-wise, pretty laid back, kind of quiet, doesn't show a lot of emotion, gentle-spirited, you know, very compassionate. I don't know if he didn't necessarily get that from me, but so we connect really well on a lot of things, and you know, he's my tag along kind of. I love doing stuff with him. Like if I'm around the house and I go to do a project outside or whatever, I'm super disappointed if he doesn't want to come with me. Mm-hmm. And so parenting him The toughest thing with parenting boys, I think, is, and again, I'm relating this to Carson because he's kind of at the age where you kind of start developing this type of relationship, but it's just having deep conversations. I don't remember having a lot of deep conversations with my dad. And so, and again, it could just be that I don't remember them. But it's tricky. There's something to, especially a kid who's quiet, trying to get some of that stuff out of them, and so where are you at with something? Oh, I don't know. I kind of know how my wife feels now sometimes, right? When she asks me, what are you thinking about? Nothing. And so
real thing.
That's kind of fun. With my next boy, Ethan, he's 8. He'll be 9 here in a little bit. He's kind of a spitfire too. He's a big ball of energy, but he's a lover. I mean, he'll come up to me and he'll just give me a hug and say, "Oh man, Dad, we should just do this all day long." I mean, buddy. He's just a buddy. But we went through a period with him where it was, he was rebellious kind of. He would kind of look, you tell him, "Don't touch that." And he'd kind of look at you and then he'd touch it, just to see what was going to happen. And Shay really worked with him, kind of on that stuff and trained him. And he's amazing now. But I think you definitely, I don't know if it's as different boys and girls as much as just different personalities. Right. I don't know. Maybe I'll change my tune further down the road, or maybe if I thought about it a little bit more. Obviously with the boys, I'm not nearly as sensitive. I'll yell I would tend to get more harsh maybe and yell with them more. I don't wrestle with my kids enough. That's something, I know, like kind of Calder said with his daughter, like that's a great thing to do. And we don't do it a ton, so I don't have that difference, I guess, for me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I really gave a difference there. Yeah. Boys versus girls, but
okay, just to piggyback off that, what would you like to see instilled in them for when they're growing up to be men? Is that different than for your daughters?
I mean, I certainly want them to feel differently than, or I want them to be raised, with different priorities or whatever. But I want them to be humble. I want them to have humility. And I want them to have, be able to say, "I'm sorry," be able to ask for forgiveness. I want them to be able to look past the situation and what's going on behind the scenes, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, not that I don't want that for my girls too, but I feel like I need to work at that more with my boys. I don't need them to be mushy gushy. I don't need them to be able to explain all their feelings or anything. Like, I want them to be guys still. I think there's a big part of that they still need to be. But yeah, I have a great answer for that, I guess.
That is a good answer. Yeah. It turns out that men and women are different, and you can't say that nowadays. Anyways, this was a fun podcast while it lasted, and I'll be canceled tomorrow. And thank you all
lose all your sponsors.
Thank you for all your support. Sorry, I said men and women are different. Oh my gosh. Okay, Tyler.
It's hard for me because I see a lot of times where it's almost looked negatively upon if your boys are harsh or rough edged, or because that's just not like the goal. The goal is to have these perfect, refined little human beings that do what you say when you say it and don't have any thoughts of their own and don't talk back and don't. But I kind of think boy, that's not even how I am. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I'm not working on a bunch of these things, these issues that I have in my life. However, I don't want to steal their personalities. I don't want to steal their
nature.
Yeah, the nature, the warrior inside them, the fight that they have. I don't want to you know what I mean? I don't want to squelch that personality. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And to boy, that's really hard. It is really hard to cultivate a gentle warrior. I don't think I'm doing a very good job, but I don't think I want to live in a world without that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Without the without the little kids or whatever that have personality, those are the ones I like the most. I'm like, oh my goodness, like your daughter Naomi. I always say like I just love her personality because she has one. You know what I mean? And I don't. I'm just not. I don't know. I don't want all my boys just to walk single file behind me whenever I go into a store or whatever. Like, how do you cultivate the warrior in the garden without ruining the garden?
Yeah,
kind of.
Right.
And so that's kind of a struggle for me. I struggle with that anyway. Do I just be a disciplinarian and force this natural way of being out of them? Or like, do I have to fight every battle to try to refine their personality to like what conforms to either societal pressure or cultural pressure or
expectations,
even the expectations that I might have in my head for what my perception is of how I'm supposed to be raising these young men.
Yeah.
And man, I really struggle with that because I don't want to squelch their personalities. I want to see them get to their adulthood with these personalities and with the fight to pursue what they want in life and out of life. So
yeah, I love that.
You kind of want your kid to, like an analogy I think of is you kind of want your kid to be a muscle car with a lot of horsepower, but you also want them to be able to drive through town too, right. And whatever.
The saying goes, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in the war.
But that's an interesting point, though. Like, how do you train a warrior to be in the garden without ruining the garden? Like, that is a very delicate balance there.
Well, I can tell you, I think the conclusion that I'm coming to is you can, this 10% that we're talking about of the formulas and stuff, we talked about the 90% being, if you love your kids, you're 90% of the way there, right? The formula stuff. You can train, you can give them Bible verses, you can take them to Sunday school, you can tell them in and day out, all this stuff. Most of how they're going to turn out is what they see. More is caught than taught, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard that 1,000 times. But like, this is where your kids are a mirror. I heard a quote that it's really hard to train the you out of your children. It's so true. That's true. I see, especially the kids that are maybe more like me, like Olivia and Carson kind of both have more of my personality or whatever. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you poor kids. I am so sorry that you are the way you are in this aspect or whatever.
So perhaps then you model the behavior as much as possible.
Yeah.
Work on yourself, model the things that you think are important, and then that is what is picked up.
So you're just supposed to wait until you're 60, 70 years old before you have
right,
kids.
because nothing's figured out before then.
Well, yeah.
That's why we're all
good luck. Good
up.
luck. And I am not a believer of waiting until you're ready, quote unquote, before you have kids, or before you've got everything figured out and like all of that. And it's never going to be perfect, but it does kind of blow my mind that God trusts us with kids.
It's kind of the mess though that makes it what it is. It makes that's the beauty in it, right? Is that everybody is working at something.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I am kind of getting into this point in my life where I'm in my 40s now, and I'm like, you know what? This is just probably kind of who I am. Like, I used to always hear Dave Ramsey, say like, yeah, good luck changing me. I'm 60.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Old
and
dog,
like,
new tricks.
and I'm not saying that that's necessarily always the right approach to take, but why not find a way to channel that? Even the things you don't like, you can still channel them probably into something beneficial. And so how do you do that with these kids? Like, man.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my wife and my 2 older daughters, Olivia and Hannah, and I told them that every personality has positives and it has negatives. And if you take 2 different personalities, the positive of one is going to be different than the positive of the other one. And the negatives, you're still going to have struggles. Like, even though in the moment it looks like this person has no problems and this person has all the problems, like, there are things that this person is not going to struggle with that this person is. And so every personality has, and I think, like you're saying, channel that instead of saying I have to change myself completely into the perfect. Like, no, God made you like the way you are for a reason, and figuring out how to, yes, do we all need to be more kind, more humble and caring? Sure, yes, I'll give you that. But also, like, you can be kind and know how to, wrestle bears or whatever.
I think we would all agree that we had a very good upbringing in childhood and all that. I think we can say.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Well,
I'm sure. Relatively.
I'm dead aren't here.
Compared to the world. Yeah. But it's funny because one thing that Dad always says is that he did the best he could and he loved his kids, or he loves his kids, and the rest they can talk to their therapist about. So, even us sitting here thinking we had the best childhood in the world, or, still our parents look and see things that they feel like they didn't do adequately, which is interesting.
Well, that's kind of to Tyler's point. Like, there's a battlefield of expectations for kids. They're always looking up at their parents, and a lot of times they're feeling like there's just so much pressure on being perfect all the time, and every little correction is just a clean slate from what you've been trying to do. And like, tell your kids and model the behavior and say, you know what, I raised my voice there and I shouldn't have done that. It's something I'm working on. You can model that to your kids too, right? Like, how valuable that would be.
Yeah, I know for me, like, always feeling the expectation probably from myself, because I'm a perfectionist. I try to be as high of an achiever as possible. Like, how do you not put the standard of perfection on your kids? So just to kind of spin off that, like, how do I try to cultivate in them a spirit of tenacity and of along with their personality, to train them in how they are bent, in what they are interested in the circumstance of whatever their life is going to hold for them, to be able to handle those things, but not have perfection be the expectation. Because that's what it is for me. For years, I always thought, like, oh, geez, like, someday I'll be perfect like everybody else. And having just that expectation on myself and never reaching it, or never getting to that goal. Man, if I could somehow figure out a way to take that off my kids, and not have them have the pressure of well, this is really how you should have responded in that situation. Be like, it's okay. Like, we're all learning. We're all on this path. We're all growing.
Yeah.
We all have things that we're working on. If I am having a conversation in the public of my family with one of my kids, I always try to make sure it's clear that every one of us in the household has something we're working on, getting better at. I have 1,000. We could list them off. Yeah. But I don't know. I just don't want to put that expectation of they have to be perfect. Like, yeah.
It's probably something I should have said to my kids probably 5,000 to 10,000 times by now is like, you know what? You kind of screwed things up there, and you know what? It's okay. I've done it 1,000 times more than you. And it is what it is. We get so offended by our kids, and we're so disappointed. Like, how could you act like this? I think God's just up there going,
it's so funny.
Yeah.
But it's a disappointment. I mean, I can see myself with just a blank stare at my kids, just befuddled that they're acting the way they are. And that's like a terrible, I'm just like heaping guilt and that expectation of perfection on them, when really I should be there going, guys, we can't act like this, but you know what? It's all good. Like, you're boys, you're girls, you're going to fight. You're going to have these issues. It's okay. Let's talk about it. Let's work through it. Let's see where we're all at. And, that should have been something that I've already told them probably 5,000 or 10,000 times. And yeah, stuff that's clicking with me kind of even as we're sitting here,
Comes to mind is to put the emphasis on effort instead of the outcome.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't agree any more with that. Okay, so it's getting late, so I want to kind of wrap this up and get to you guys. We haven't even talked marriage at all. So obviously there's going to have to be a part.
Nothing for you on that
Yeah.
subject anyway, so you're good.
Yeah, okay.
Leave that for the people
Have
who
our
have been married
wives
for
answer
60
that.
years.
Ask our wives. No.
Yeah. I had a few things that I wanted to get to that we didn't. Masculinity and manhood, how that relates to marriage and parenting and society at large. Work ethic, you kind of touched on that a little bit, Calder, how important that is to relate to your children. But before we go, I wanted to get to this special question that we had sent in to us from a very special person. Our dad. Yeah. So I was speaking with him today. He was helping me with my deck, because he's pretty selfless with his time and helping out. And I was like, is there anything that you want to hear from us about? And he was like, I don't want to do it, And then he kind of had an idea, and so here it is. He says, this is directed to his 4 boys. He says, what are some takeaways that you've learned from your father's mistakes?
So the main takeaway that I would have would have been, I think I would have desired to spend more time with Dad. When we were young, didn't have a lot of money. Dad worked tons of hours and was super involved in our church building. And so I remember all the times that he would come out and play catch with us out in the yard, and those were like moments,
Core memory.
and other things too. Taking us to Enchanted Forest. I mean, that was a huge sacrifice financially and time and effort just to get us. But when I still drive around the corner in Old Forge and see the big blue arch, I flash back to when I was young and just all of those memories. And so, what I've taken away from that is to make sure that I don't get too involved in something that takes my time away from my kids. And I don't know that I'm doing that well or not necessarily. And it was a different life back then too with church stuff. And we had a lot of great memories at church too, for sure. But that was that. I think I hear it in my grandfather also. My dad's father kind of says the same thing. Like, he'll almost kind of roll his eyes and just say, I don't know how many nights we even spent at home. Like they almost every night of the week was kind of something going on. So that's something I've been able to take away and kind of, I feel like, bring more balance to that for my kids.
Yeah, especially if it's something, if you're spending nights away without your family.
Right.
Yeah, I think for me, I know kind of along the same lines, probably like Dad he'd get up at 4:00 in the morning to go do barn chores before he went to work at 7:00. He'd come home for an hour at lunchtime and sleep for a half an hour of it, and then go back to work until 6:00 and then be at church from 6:30 until 10:30, 11:00 at night. A lot of times it was a lot. Like, I think it was too much on him and too much responsibility, and it's just a lot. And so I know I try to make sure that, like, I don't have so many commitments that I am, helping so many other people that I can't help my kids and my family. Just even little tasks here and there to have them, to help them, to whatever. I know that's definitely a focus more of mine, is to spend more time probably with the boys as they're growing up. But on the other side of that coin, all 6 out of the 7 of us kids just went on vacation with our parents and our grandparents for, 7, 8, 9 days. And, like, it was great.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there was
it's crazy.
To my knowledge anyway, a single argument. Like, I didn't hear of anything.
No.
I didn't hear of the cousins fighting. My kids maybe amongst themselves, but I didn't hear of siblings.
Little petty stuff that's just little kid stuff. But it's nothing.
Siblings didn't fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's a testament, yeah.
So obviously there was way more done right.
Well, you can't get to that. It's not part of the question, Tyler.
I thought we were going to do the whole thing.
No, he said to lay it. He said to give it right to him. Lay into his mistake.
No, I don't. And I don't even
get part of this question.
So
we're going to
Don't worry,
so
we're going to get to
just to try to recap. That's what was brought down from his dad, who worked insane hours to make ends meet. It was just how life was. It wasn't as easy. I mean, they set the floor for us. Yeah. In my opinion, we had this conversation with Grandpa years ago when he was, transitioning, and Tyson was moving his family up that direction or whatever. Like, you guys have set the groundwork for us. You've done it. Dad did better than Grandpa. Every one of us boys are doing better than Dad. All of our kids are going to do better than us. It's helping make our ceiling their floor, right? And good grief. I don't know. I mean, us 4, I think are all incredibly hardworking. Our sisters have married all hardworking men. It's a testament to just the standard even of, this is how you take care of your family. This is what is expected. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that was all caught.
It was all caught. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yes, more one-on-one time would have been great. More playing catch in the yard would have been great. I just kind of see it as it is what it is.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right. You don't know what you don't know. Dad wasn't gone on the road working a construction job. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have done that. He wanted to make sure he was there for us.
And I'm sure if we looked back, I'm kind of like looking back now, and I'm thinking about all the stuff that we did do too that you don't think of. We used to go to the Millers out in Buffalo, and we used to go to parades, and he took us to ball games, and it was not like what Tyler had said, where he knew men who called home for their kids. He coached our little league teams.
Yeah.
He obviously had to take time. I don't know how that even worked, for him financially and stuff like that. But yeah, no, definitely still has been something that I've wanted to focus on, is just make sure that I felt like, the pendulum always probably swings too far one way or the other anyway. But
your kids are like, Dad, go away, do something else.
And you know what? And financially, we're just in a different place.
Yeah.
With our businesses, that it's easy to sit here and say, oh yeah, spend more time with your family. It's like, oh yeah, well, there's no money.
You can't.
It's a little different.
Especially when you're so focused on, the church stuff and helping other people and whatever. But now, mom and dad help everybody.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm not supposed to be complimenting.
Yes,
I understand.
Is not the part of the
I'll
question, you guys.
Okay, no more compliments.
This is the one
Sorry.
thing I would ever point to. But. No, that's coming later.
All right.
Calder.
Yeah, I am racking my brain here, and I can't think of something that he did poorly that I've learned from, or a mistake that he's made. I had a much different childhood than you guys did. Obviously, you were 8 and 6 before Brock was born. So, and then I came after Brock a couple of years. And so I think maybe the one thing that I have felt is, and it may just be my personality, it may be the fact that I'm the third boy, and then we have a little sister right behind us, but I feel like
You're the fourth boy.
Yeah, I'm the fourth. What did I just say? Third, yeah.
Ooh, all right.
It's getting late.
It is late in the podcast.
Anyways,
I had to count.
What's in there?
Yeah.
I was like 1, 2. No,
It looks like
I
water,
think
but it's
maybe the only thing that I would say possibly
get ice
would be just that I feel like
Did you say positive?
No, a negative thing maybe that I would feel like is that, and this is played into the role of why I don't want to have such a big family, is because, and my wife feels the same way for different reasons in her own upbringing. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't feel like I was overlooked, but I felt like maybe I didn't get very much attention as a kid because I had 3 older brothers that were doing activities and running all over the place, and I was doing Little League and activities also. But then with a little sister who's the baby,
the princess.
They've just been trying to have kids to get a girl.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
They deny that, but
so I think one thing that's come out of that, my upbringing through that I've wanted to instill into my parenting fatherhood style is that I want to make sure that I'm giving my kids all the attention that they want. And I probably give Naomi all the attention she wants and then 50% more that she doesn't want.
Right.
Because it's usually, Dad, stop kissing me. Don't hug me. I
too
just
much.
said
It's a
I
pendulum,
love
right?
you.
Yeah.
You just said, yes, I love you. Good night. You said that already. Yeah.
Cece, I'll tell her at night before she goes to bed, Daddy loves you. I love you with all my heart. And she goes, yeah, me know that.
Yeah.
Let me go to sleep now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's great. So I don't know how to say his name, but is it Gabor Mate? Do you know him? It's M-A-T, but there's a tilde on the E, so mate, whatever. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how all children in a family are not parented by the same parents. Mm. I wasn't parented by the same parents that you guys were. Right. And all the way down through, and that's definitely true.
Yeah, we know we couldn't even play hockey on a Sunday. Remember that?
Oh
Yeah, well, that's the one thing. I want to go back to the one thing that I'm mad about. Just kidding.
No junior Olympics for you.
Just brought up some dark memories for you.
That's funny.
I'm with Calder. I feel like Dad is Superman to me in a lot of different ways, and so it makes it hard to kind of pick anything out. I think back of things that maybe I've heard Dad say he regrets not doing as a mistake, quote unquote. Because I feel very much like Calder. Like when I look at my childhood, back in my childhood, I'm like, man, I can't imagine how it could have been any better. But I know he worked hard. Like I know he was up before we were, and he came back like mostly after dinner time, and then he was in the study, and then he was doing other things. Like
You had great older brothers too.
Well, obviously,
I mean, like Tyler and I didn't have that.
but in a business realm, he has talked before about a couple opportunities he had to expand and how he didn't do that and felt like that was a mistake, not taking that risk, not having the courage to go and pursue that, and how it's a little bit of a something that he regrets. But probably, that would probably be mostly it for me. Okay, now the good part, and then we'll wrap up. We'll start with Tyson. Something that you saw from Dad that you've instilled into your marriage and parenting.
So one thing that my wife always talks about is just how I am willing to serve with her or our family with stuff around the house, even just like doing dishes. I'll take that for an example. Could be cleaning too or whatever, but doing dishes specifically or cleaning up after supper. And she always refers it back to Dad, because anytime we get together, Dad will be out in the kitchen doing dishes. And so she always kind of jokes and says, oh, thanks for, teaching. And again, this was not something that Dad was like, okay, when you're an adult and you get married, like you want to make sure you do the dishes. Like it wasn't, he just showed that example. And then same for Grandpa Roggie too. I think it kind of came down like that. So that's one thing, that just being a servant to your spouse. And then maybe on a little more like a tangible or a practical type thing is him encouraging me to take risks in business that he maybe wishes he would have taken earlier on in some of that. And so he was very instrumental in encouraging me to start the auto repair business. And then when the opportunity came to buy the car wash, he didn't push me down the road, necessarily or he didn't push me along to do it. But they, helped us financially. They, he was just, and Dad is not like by nature a positive, encouraging person. I think that's a fair statement, but he was just very much like, oh, this would be a great, like I never once heard any negativity for that, for the car wash thing when it came up. And so that's always kind of struck me, just that, he pushed me to take opportunities that I probably won't. I'm not a risk taker by nature. And so, he's definitely, that would be a really big thing to me. That's kind of, affected my everyday life and something. So yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think same. I remember the time when I was getting into real estate, and I remember there would always be an opportunity, and I would always go and run it by Dad first, just to get his advice and whatever. And I remember the first time that I bought a house and I didn't get Dad's opinion on it. Thinking like, oh, like I'm a grown adult. I can like make my own choices now. I'm probably 30, and just thinking like,
nice.
Yeah, like I don't need that validation or that opinion. I have enough wisdom to know what to do. But I remember thinking like, oh, I still want it.
Yeah.
And so that's invaluable. And like literally Dad is like the biggest support, I think, to all of us boys, and I know to his daughters and their husbands as well. And
yep.
and I just yeah, he would drop anything at anything. I mean, yeah, they just do, and mom as well. But like, Dad drove my kids to Cleveland.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to have a parent that would lay down everything and do that for you just for a weekend, you know, like, yeah, it's special.
Yeah.
So even if we did miss some of that time, like growing up, because we kind of had the same maybe criticism or whatever, I don't even think about that because I know what we have now. So, yeah.
And it's not like you guys look back at it and see him doing it. He wasn't going out in the woods to hunt when there was meat in the freezer, or he wasn't going to play us off. He was getting up, and it was the work ethic. He was providing, and you guys knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The word that comes to my mind is selflessness, hands down. Dad would do anything for anybody or any one of us, no matter what he had going on or what he had to cancel or postpone or what it cost him financially. Yeah, he's just a giver, and he's there for other people. And that's the thing that I've taken from his example and wanted to instill into, or wanted to convey to my children, is that I'll do anything that I can for you. And also, there's nothing that you could ever do that you can't come to me with, because I've made a bunch of stupid decisions and mistakes in my life and gone to Dad and Mom.
Nice.
And when they're not putting you down or criticizing you or saying, man, that was so stupid, why'd you do that? When they're just there to accept you and love you for who you are and understand that you made a mistake. And yeah, just that's one thing that I've taken away from their example and Dad's, that, you know, I want to give to my children. No matter what you do, there's nothing you can do that you can't come to me with.
Yeah, for sure. It's great.
Yeah, when I think of Dad, honestly, I just see what I want to be like. You know, like whenever I'm thinking of how I feel about my dad, I want my kids to feel that way about me. Mm-hmm. He is. You guys have nailed it. He's a giver. He's a servant. He's an encourager. But you said it right too. Like he's not like an expressively going to push you in a direction. But once you've made the decision, then he will make it 1,000 times better in whatever way that looks like. So I never felt like, and I feel like the balance for him with expectation was so good. I remember one time he told me I was struggling. I don't know what it was, maybe after high school sometime. And he sat me down and told me, like, I don't care if you are the president or you're flipping burgers at McDonald's. Like, I want you to be happy, and I want you to do it to the best of your ability and know that we'll always be here no matter what. Like, that's not
cool.
That's not a normal thing for a father to say, because a lot of people struggle with expectations from their father. Wise, same thing. He's the first guy I'll go to if I have a question. We have really good relationship that way. I want to emulate that with my kids. Hardworking and super compassionate. Cares about his kids. Cares about their families. Cares about, you know, his immediate family and his parents, and so and he cares about other people. Like he really does. And so all of those qualities kind of, it's just a kind of template that I would like to follow. I'd like to get there. And I know he would say, oh, well, when I was 30, I had nothing figured out. Or if I was, like I was just a mess. But I think if he would hear us say this, he would just be like, no, like he's a very humble man too. Like he's like, that's not, I struggle. You know, he's a perfectionist too, like many of us are, and you know, he would be quick to point out all of his flaws first. So,
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else on that?
Just one quick thing. It's funny because we just got home from this week-long vacation where my kids saw Dad every day, and hung out with him, and he came go-karting with us. He didn't go-kart. Like, he wouldn't let me pay to have him ride the go-karts. He just wanted to go and take videos of grandkids, which was really super special. So we get home on Saturday. Sunday morning, Ashton's telling me, Dad, you think you can text Grandpa and see if he wants to come over and watch the Eagles play or, watch the race or so to have my 13-year-old son want to have his grandfather come over to hang out with him is a huge blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I'm like, no, let's give Grandpa a break. Right. He was just on vacation with you guys. We'll give him a week to recover. And then, but you know what I mean? Just for my 13-year-old son to want him to want me to text his grandpa,
That intergenerational influence is so important, and so maybe important's not the right word, but it's like you're in bonus territory, when you can get influence from a grandfather or great grandfather. Like, we still have our kids still have all their great grandparents, which is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah,
but yeah,
right on
our side.
Yeah. So when I'm thinking about us as parents, I'm looking around the table right now, and what I'm seeing are extensions of him, and he's an extension of his, generations before him, and that's what I want to be, and I know that's what you guys want to be. But I also think it'd be really fun just for me to tell you guys how great, I look up to all of you guys. This is we're brothers, but also when I look around, I see God-fearing men who are serious about their families, who are serious about doing whatever it is that they're doing well, and who care about their impact and the things that they can control. Because, look, I mean, we've talked about being selfish, throughout this podcast, and that is something that people struggle with. And when I'm looking at you guys, that's not what I see. It might not feel that way to you guys, but I see men who, just like my dad, I'm trying to emulate. So,
yeah, you hit, a few years ago, whatever it was, when I turned 40, it was I never had that feeling with any other age that I hit, 20, 30, 35, 39. Man, when I hit 40, it was really okay, you got to really start thinking about what you make sure your goals are in the right place, make sure you're climbing the right ladder, and for me, just the impact that I want to leave is that my kids will have, and I don't need them to have a better financial life than me or, that kind of stuff. But I want them to be, that's what I want to leave. 'Cause you don't get to leave this world with anything, And so I want that for my kids. I want them to be able to stand on my shoulders and, in all the different aspects of life, with how much they care about people, how much they love the Lord, how much they love their spouses and their kids and stuff like that. Because if it only, if it just affects us or our kids, but then everything falls apart after that, it's not what you want to leave. So,
yeah. Anything else? All right. That seems like a good place to leave it right there.
Wrap it up.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
thanks. Super fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, I know we just spent a whole week together, but anytime that I get to spend with you guys is a bonus.
Good times.
We'll have to do it again because we didn't even get to half the stuff I wanted to on here, but I feel like everything that we got to is super important, and I hope somebody hearing this somewhere gets some encouragement out of it.
Yep, absolutely.
So, all right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
See ya.